Kadosh Boker or Masechet Nazir Daf Amud Aleph 17a1. Says the Gemara, we were just mentioning about that Yotzev Nichnas, which means that even according to Resh Lakish, there was a machloket of Resh Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. If you guys remember, the machloket is that what happens if a person's in the cemetery and then he makes himself into a Nazir and he stays there? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, right, this was basically the machloket that we said over there. There was going to be a machloket, right, between Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the Nazirut is Chal. And therefore there's going to be an Isur. And according to Resh Lakish, the Nazirut is not Chal at all. It doesn't even take place. Why? Because you never left the cemetery. So then we answer that according to Resh Lakish, if you went out and then came back inside, so therefore, right, that's what we're going to say, that for sure it's going to be Chal, and you're going to be Chayav. That's what we said. According to Resh Lakish, if he's going to be over a Nazirut or that he accepted upon himself, he's not going to be Lokeh because it was not the Nazirut. Here we're talking about that you came out and you came back inside. The second you came out and you went back inside, so even according to Resh Lakish, it's going to become a problem. Eitve, this is where we're starting today's daf. Okay, Eitve, we're asking the question. En ben tameh shenazar le nazir tahor shenitma, ella tameh shenazar hashvi shelo ole lo min haminyan, venazir tahor shenitma, en shvi shelo ole min haminyan. Says the Gemara. The Gemara is asking again, Rabbi Yochanan against Resh Lakish. There's no difference between a tameh that he makes himself into a Nazir, or a Nazir tahor that he became tameh. Ella tameh shenazar, but a person that's tameh that he makes himself into a Nazir, hashvi shelo, which means the seventh day, which is the last day, ole lo min haminyan, is going to be ole min haminyan. It's going to be counting as a day. V'nazir tahor shenitma, but a Nazir tahor that he became tameh, en hashvi shelo ole min haminyan, it's not going to be ole lo min haminyan. V'yisal kadai lo chal. If you're going to tell me right now that what? If you're going to tell me that a nozer, right, that means the one that's making himself a Nazir, right, when he's tameh, it's not going to be chal, unless he's going to accept upon himself again one more time. Amay ole lo minyan. Why is it going to be ole lo minyan? Right, muchach from here that the Nazirut is chal immediately, right, even though he's still tameh. He was tameh. Remember, he's in the Bet HaKvarot, and he comes and he says he's going to become a Nazir. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's chal. According to Resh Lakish, it's not chal. So asks. So one second. So says the Rabbi Yochanan asks to Resh Lakish, there's no difference between somebody that's tameh, that he makes himself into a Nazir, or somebody that's tahor, that he becomes tameh. The only difference is the Yom HaShavi'i, which is the last day of the Tahara. Okay? Remember that the last day of the Tahara, remember that when a person becomes tameh, he needs 7 days of purity to become pure. They sprinkle upon him the waters of the Paraduma on day 3 and on day 7. So the 7th day is going to be olelo min haminyan. What does it mean, olelo minyan? The 7th day, the second he was sprinkled in the morning, he's going to be counted as one of the days of Nazirut. That's what it means, olelo min haminyan. It's going to count as one of the days of the Nazirut. Nazir tahor shenitma, but a Nazir tahor, right, that became tameh, okay, is not going to start the Nazirut from the 7th day, right? Again, one more time. He was a Nazir tahor. He became tameh. Now he has to do 7 days of clean days, right, to become pure, right? Lavdavka clean of clean kavanah here, pure. So what happens is when he finishes, he does not count that one day as the first day of the Nazirut again. He only starts the next day. Okay, so that's the difference between tahor shenitma or tameh shen nasa nazir, right? Tameh that made himself into a Nazir. So ask the Gemara, if you're going to tell me that it's not going to be chal, the Nazirut, according to the Lakish, why is it olelo minyan? Why does it count as one of the first days of Nazirut? It doesn't count to bichlal. He doesn't become a Nazir according to the Lakish. So Amar Mor Baravashi says Mor Baravashi, Meichal kule alma lo plig dechaya. According to everybody, even according to the Lakish, it's going to be chal, meaning a person's in the cemetery and he says that he's going to become a Nazir. What's going to happen? It's going to be chal. When is the machloket? The machloket is leminke, to do with lashes. Meaning, according to everybody, it's chal. Meaning, Resh Lakish does not argue on Rabbi Yochanan. According to also Resh Lakish, it's chal, and he becomes a Nazir. What's the machloket? Lashes. Rabbi Yochanan Savar. Rabbi Yochanan holds Kevan de Chayle. Since the Nazirut is going to be Chal immediately, Lake, he gets lashes. With a Shakish Savar and a Shakish holds Lo Lake. You're not going to get lashes. The Chayle, but it's still going to be Chal the Nazirut. Okay, so therefore, that means even though it's Chal the Nazirut, he says that you don't get the lashes because the Torah comes in and comes to exclude the Nazir, that he was Nozer et atzmo bebet hakvarot, and therefore he says that you don't get lashes. But you do become a Nazir. So therefore they both agree. You become a Nazir, but there's no lashes. Fine. Third question from Rabbi Yochanan to Resh Lakish. Eighth-way, Rabbi Yochanan and Resh Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan comes and he asks Resh Lakish, Misha Nazar bebet hakvarot, the same case. Somebody that makes himself a Nazir and he's in the Bet HaKvarot. Afilu hayashav 30 yom, even though if he's going to be there for 30 days, he doesn't count as the minyan. He doesn't bring korban tumah. Korban tumah, he doesn't bring korban tumah. But he does get lashes. Meaning, one more time, now we're trying to go, beforehand we thought, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's Chal the Nazirut, according to the Shakish, not Chal the Nazirut. Finally, after 3 questions, we retract. Even according to the Shakish, it is Chal the Nazirut, but you just don't get lashes. So now again, according to Rabbi Yochanan and the Shakish, Chal the Nazirut, right? The Nazirut takes place, it goes into effect. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, lashes, according to the Shakish, no lashes. Ask Rabbi Yochanan, now that you agreed to me that it is Chal the Nazirut, but you just argue to do with the lashes, what about this case? We're going back to the original case. A person's in the cemetery, and he's going to be there for the next 30 days. And he comes and he makes himself into a Nazir. And he's right now in the cemetery. Now, he's not allowed to become, but he's in the cemetery. And now he's there for 30 days. So says the Gemara, it's not going to be Olelo Minamiyan for 30 days. He doesn't bring a Korban Tumah, but at the end of the day, he had to be Tahor in order to bring a Korban Tumah. Here, he was never Tahor. He was always Tameh. But he does get lashes. So therefore, Mashma, if he does get lashes, is against Resh Lakish. Answers the Gemara, Bedinhu deletni, really be'emet, not Mishnah, right? Eno loke. You're not going to be loke. Ela mishum dekabay lamita seva. You need the seifa. Yatsav nichnas olelo minyan. If you come out of the Bet HaKvarot and then you come back inside, it's going to be olelo minyan. Meaning the fact that you came outside of the cemetery and then you came back in, it is olelo minyan, and you have to bring a korban tumah. Tana reisha. So therefore, we taught in the reisha, eno mevi korban tumah. You do not bring a korban tumah, but not that you get lashes. Meaning you wanted to deduce. You don't bring a korban tumah, but you do get lashes. Says that's not the explanation of Mishnah. In the Seifa, we said that you do have to bring korban tumah. Why? Because you left the cemetery and then you came back in. The second that you left the cemetery and came back in, now you have to bring a korban tumah. Why? Because it was Chal the Nazirut. The Nazirut was Chal when you went out, and now when you come back into the cemetery, even though you didn't become pure yet, but the fact that you went out and came back in, that's it. You have to bring a korban tumah. So therefore, in the Reisha, we said, you don't have to bring korban tumah. But about lashes, nobody's talking about lashes, right? Nobody ever mentioned about lashes. Okay, so it's not a proof. What? Hashema. We're going to try to bring another proof now to Rabbi Yochanan from a Braita. And ben tameh shenazar lenazir tahor shenitma. There's no difference between a person that's tameh, that he wanted to become a nazir when he was still tameh, right? Lenazir tahor shenitma, or nazir tahor that he became tameh. Ela shetameh nazar shvi shelo leminyan, and nazir tahor shenitma, and basically the yom hashvi ha malkut, but to do with malkut, that's the exact same thing. So we're trying to bring a proof that the only difference between them is, do you count the 7th day as one of the days of Nazirut, but what? To do with the lashes, it's exact same thing. Okay? So it says the Gemara Elmaleh, he comes and he says, no. Tiglachat, right? To do with, he says, you can't make a diuk of that. You could only say to do with tiglachat and yain, that's when it's going to be shavim. And they get the lashes. Okay, but to do with malkut on tum'ah, they're not shavim. They're not going to be equal. Okay? Aval inyan malkut mai. But what's halakha to do with malkut? Okay, what's halakha to do with malkut? So he comes and he says, loke. He gets lashes. Yeah, v'ze eno loke. And the other one does not get lashes. So why don't we learn it? Which means that this, according to Shitat, the Shakish, The Nazir Tahor that becomes Tameh, he gets lashes. That's obvious, no? A person that's a Nazir Tahor, right? Nazir Tahor. He comes and he becomes Tameh. We said before. Lashes. He went against it. He gets lashes. But the Tameh Shenazar, the one that's already Tameh, that he makes himself into a Nazir, he doesn't get lashes, right? Because he was already Tameh. It's not that he's already Tameh right now. So litany, why don't we learn that that's one of the differences between the two cases, right? That one gets lashes, one doesn't get. The only difference that we learned between them was, does the seventh day count as one of the days of Nazirut or not? But we didn't learn anything else. Why don't we learn also about the lashes, that there's a difference between them? Answers the Gemara, Betakante kamairi, bekilkule lo kamairi. We only focus on tikkunim, not on kalkala. We're only focusing on the positives, not on the negatives. Some people, they always look at the negatives. We always look at the positives. What do you mean the positives? At the end of the day, we were talking about how do you fix the Nazirut? And therefore, when you're going to count the seventh day as one of the days of the Nazirut or not, that's a fixing. That's not a breaking. Here, you're talking about, do you get lashes or not? We're not talking about lashes. Right? We're not talking about negatives. Okay, so next one. Tashema. Somebody that's tameh, that he made himself into a nazir, so he's not allowed to cut his hair and he's allowed to drink wine, he's allowed to become a tameh metim. If he did it, he gets lashes. So here you see mefurash, not like Resh Lakish. Here's a braita mefureshet, tameh shenazar, he made himself into a nazir. If he comes and he becomes metameh met again, or if he drinks wine, or if he cuts his hair, what does he get? He gets lashes. So mefurash like Rabbi Yochanan, not like the Shakish. Answers the Gemara. Tiyufta. You're right. It's a good refutation. Meaning, remember that a tiyufta means it was a good refutation. It was a good question. So this was a bomb question against the Shakish, and this is a proof to Rabbi Yochanan. Okay. By Rava. Rava comes and he asks the following question: Nazir v'hu bebet hakvarot mahu. Imagine a Nazir that he's in the Bet HaKvarot. Or lo? Does he need to wait there a certain amount of time in order to receive the lashes or not? Meaning, we just said you're not allowed to become a tamemet. He has to go to the cemetery for a certain amount of time and you start a stopwatch, or the second you go in and that's it. Right? Exactly. It's in and out. Let's see. So it says the Gemara, Hechidami, what's the case? If they told him lo tinzor, which means if they told him, right, that they gave him the hatra, and they told him al tinzor v'takvarot, don't. So why do you need to be shia? Why do you need immediately you go inside? Kamarnu, right? So nazir ma'itama lo by shia. What's the reasoning why be'emet don't you need shia? The kamatru because they gave him a warning, and they told him that the etzem knisa, the fact that you go inside, you're going to be in the problem. So to here, they're giving him a warning. So therefore, if you're giving him a warning, for sure you don't need shia. But the fact that you go into the cemetery, it's already going to be a problem. Yeah, because that's it. Yud Zayin Ubet 17b. Ela kegon berada shenichnas b'shidat teva umigdal. Right? They have it nowadays. There's only one kever that I know that ki'ilu they wanted to make. Right? They don't even have it by the Rambam, the Mibalanes, the right. Any kever, a kever is a kever. You don't go to the kever, right? That's it. But there is only one kever that I know of that you could go into like in the box and then you go to the kever. You understand? Right? But here it says, if you go in with a shetat uva migdal, so now the question is, since there's a chatzitza between the tumah, so therefore the question is, will there be a problem now or not? Uba chavero ufara me'alav ma'aziva. So what happened? His friend came and without him knowing, he took off like the top part, right? So here it's parat v'tachtav, right? That means he took off the ma'aziva from the ritzpa, from the bottom. And now all of a sudden the tumah of the Bet HaKvarot goes inside. That means he didn't know. He's coming into a box, right? And inside the box, they're taking him all the way inside the Bet HaKvarot. Yeah, now technically, since he's in a box, right? There's no tumah. That's like going in a car. If he's going inside of a car, right? It's completely closed. There's no tumah. Now the problem though is, right? The problem though is somebody comes and he takes off the bottom part of the box, and now the tumah comes inside. It was his friend that did it. So now,
can a person go into the cemetery?
It says the Gemara, ki gemirin shehiya bevet hamikdash aval abrai lo odin maloshna. So says the Gemara, 1 second, to do with this halacha that a person that's not going to become tameh is going to be mitchayev unless there's going to be a shiur of ishtachavaya. He says that's only going to be in the Bet HaMikdash, aval labrai, but outside of the Bet HaMikdash, there's no shiur of sheyah that you have to be in a Bet HaKvarot to be chayav. Meaning, a person that goes into a Bet HaKvarot, the second he goes inside, that's it. Yeah, you don't have to wait there. How long? Not how long. You went inside. All right? Odin maloshna. Maybe there's no difference between them. Maybe it's the same thing. That means even in the Bet HaKvarot nowadays, you would also need a shiur of ishtachavaya, or whatever it is, of bowing down or whatever. So answers the Gemara, teiku. We don't have an answer. We don't know whether bemet you need a shiur of shiyah or not. We don't have an answer. Okay, next question. By Ravashi. Ravashi comes and he asks the following question. Nazar vet hakvarot. Imagine a person makes himself into a nazir, and he's already in the bet hakvarot. Taun giluach or lo? Does he need to do giluach or not? Does he have to cut off all his hair or not? Because just like a person that's a nazir that becomes tameh, he has to cut off all his hair. So too here or not? When does he need the tiglachat? Is only tahor shenitba. If he was tahor, that became tameh. The kamen tameh lenezirute, because there he's being metameh his nezirut. But here he's already tameh. Shenazar, that he made himself into a nazir. Lo, maybe he doesn't have to do it. Odil maloshnar, maybe there's no difference. So Tashma, we're going to try to bring a proof. Somebody makes himself into a nazir, and he's in the Bet HaKvarot, even if he's going to be there for 30 days, he's not going to be Olel Minyan, he doesn't bring a Korban Tumah. Korban Tumah, he doesn't have to bring a Korban Tumah, but he does have to cut his hair, right? So therefore you see from here, it's a proof from this Braita that you do have to cut your hair, even though you're a Tameh, that you made yourself into a Nazir. Not only in that Tahor that becomes Tameh, a Nazir Tahor that becomes Tameh is to cut off his hair. Even a Tameh that makes himself into a Nazir, he should cut off his hair. Says Igmanah, it's not a proof. Mata'am kama. What does it mean, Mata'am kama? What's the reasoning? That's what we have to actually come and say. Mata'am kama, Mata'am eno mevi korban tumah. What is the reasoning why you don't have to bring korban tumah? Mishum delo bai geluche. Because you don't have to be megaleach. Which means the reasoning is of both of them is the same thing. What's the reason why there's a tool min of giluach min korbanot? Because at the end of the day, since you don't need a giluach, that's why you don't need to bring a korban. Okay? So Tashema, we're going to try to bring another proof then. En ben tameh shenazal nazir tahor shenitma, ela tameh shenazal shvi shelo olam minyan, nazir shenitma, and shvi olam minyan. My lover, we're not talking about to do a tiglachat, it's the exact same thing. One more time, guys, remember this. As long as you remember this, the entire Gemara is very, very simple. There's always a nazir tahor that becomes tameh. A nazir tahor that becomes tameh means right now he's a nazir. He becomes tameh. He has to cut his hair. He has the 7 days. The shvi shalom olam minyan. He comes and he has to write all these different halachot that happened to him because he was pure and then he made himself impure. And then you have another case which is basically that he's tameh right now. He's in the Bet HaChaim. He's in the Bet HaKvarot. And now he makes himself into a nazir. And now you have different halachot. So we wanted to say, if the only difference is that a tameh nazar, the 7 days olelo min minyan, and a nazir toshen itma, it's not olelo minyan because he only starts the next day. So now, if that's the only difference, to do a tiglachat, it's the exact same halacha. So says no, to do malkut, they're both the same thing. Which means that even if a person makes himself into a nazir when he's tameh, he gets lashes on the tumah. But to do with the tiglachat and everything, it's not going to be the same. So aval tiglachat mai ze megaleach v'ze megaleach. The one which was nazir tahor that he became tameh, he has to cut off all his hair, and the one that's not does not have to cut off his hair. So Tana, we learned shvi shelo v'chol mile. What does that mean? The 7th day v'chol mile, and all the other things as well. So Tashema, we're going to try to bring a proof. Enli ela yemet tumato. That's only going to be to do with the days of tumah. She'en olin lo mina minyan, but it's not going to be olelo min minyan. Yemechiluto minayin. What about a nazir muchlat? What does that mean? We know that we're talking about until here. We're talking about yemet tumato of a nazir to a met. Remember, a nazir becomes tamemet. How many days does it become tameh? 7 days. Remember, the tum'ah is 7 days for a met. They sprinkle him on the 3rd and on the 7th day with the efed of the paraduma. That is tumat met, 7 days. Okay? So now the Gemara is saying, right? Any ela yeme tumato, that's only to do with yeme tumato. She'en olin lo min yaminyan, that's not going to be olelo min yaminyan of nezirut. Yeme chiluto minayin. What about a chiluto? What is chiluto? There's mitzorah muchlat and mitzorah musgar. You remember we learned this a few times. A mitzorah musgar means you have a mitzorah, you're not sure he's a mitzorah or not. So what do? You lock him up, right? Musgar, usagur, you close him up. And then you want to see what happens after 7 days. Does it sprout forth, become smaller or bigger? Then it becomes a mitzorah muchlat or not. Muchlat means asita achlata. You decided. What does that mean? Remember, it's not you, it's the Kohen. The Kohen is the one that looks at all these things. The Kohen is the one that he decides whether it's going to be a mitzorah or not a mitzorah. So it says over here, a Nazir, that he became a mitzorah muchlat. Those days are not olimlo le'inyan tahara. Vedinu, it's going to be a kal v'chomer. Ma yemeh tumato megaleach umevi korban, just like the yemeh tum'ah of a Nazir. He has to cut off all his hair and he brings a korban. So to yemeh chaluto megaleach umevi korban. Uma yemeh tumato, just like ole tumato. It's not going to help him for the Nazirut. So to yemeh chiluto, it's not going to help him for the Nazirut. Which means that even though he was in the middle of a Nazir and he became a mitzorah, he has to become pure, but those days do not count as a Nazir. He has to continue afterwards, meaning he put himself on pause and he has to continue afterwards. Why? Because it doesn't count, right, for his Nazirut. Right now he's a mitzorah.
Doesn't he start from the beginning?
He does have to start from the beginning. Depends how long of a Nazirut it was. If it was only a 30-day Nazirut, yes, he starts from the beginning. If it was a 100-day Nazirut and it would happen in the middle, as long as he has the 30 days afterwards, usually not. Okay? So says the Gemara, no. If you told me now to do with Yemeh Tum'ah, sheken mevatel bahen et hakodmim. Yemeh Tum'ah is going to be mevatel the previous days. Ulefichach, and therefore, en olin lo min haminyan. It's not going to be olelo min haminyan of the Nazirut. Tomar b'mei chuluto, that's going to tell me during the days of the chaluto, she'eno mevatel et hakodmim. It's not going to be mevatel the kodmin. Ulefichach, and therefore, it's going to be olelo min haminyan. So here you see from here something very interesting. The Yemeh Tum'ah v'met is mevatel the previous, and therefore that's why it's not going to be olelo minyan. By yemem chaluto, it's not mevatel, which means it's not chamur kol kach, because you're not losing the previous days, and therefore he comes and he says it should be olelo min minyan. So he comes and he says over here, right? Amarta. So now you're going to tell me, Uma Nazir bekever shese'aro ra'ui letiglachat. What about the Nazir when he's in the bet hakvarot? Right, he's fitting for tiglachat, and therefore it's not going to be olelo minyan yemeh chaluto, that he cannot actually cut his hair, right? Because only when he's going to become tahor from his salat, then right he's going to come and cut his hair. Lo kol sheken shouldn't be the same thing, that it's not going to be olelo minyan of nezirut. So says Gemara, my love tiglachat tum'ah. Are we not talking about now tiglachat of tum'ah? That means he's going to become tahor after he left the cemetery. Now he's going to cut his hair. Says Gemara, no, tiglachat of tahara. We're talking about the tiglachat at the end when he becomes tahor, which means when he finishes everything, it's like the tiglachat of a Nazir tahor. So therefore, he did the mitzvah of Nazirut of Tara, even though he's got a lot of the hair when he was already tameh. And it's also logical to say the same thing. Yudchet Amud Aleph on the top. The Isal Kadar B'Zev, you're going to tell me tiglachat tumah, that we're talking about tiglachat after a person was tameh. Yemeh chiluto mi lo bayet tiglachat. He says, 1 second. You already have to do tiglachat when you get out of your mitzorah. So for obviously we're talking about tiglachat of tehorah, not of tum'ah, and therefore that's what we're talking about. So answers the Gemara, no, tiglachat the nezirut tani. We're only talking about the tiglachat of the nezirut and not the tiglachat of mitzorah. Meaning there are two different types of tiglachats. There's tiglachat of mitzorah, when a person finishes leprosy, he has to cut off all his hair, and also tiglachat of nezirut when he's a nazir, and also when he finishes the nezirut, he cuts off all his hair. They're two different tiglachats. Meaning even though you're right, it's the same halacha. They have to do tiglachat, but we're keeping them separate because of two different separate halachot, and therefore that's what we're trying to say over here, that it's not the same halacha of the tiglachat. One is tiglachat of nezirut, and one is tiglachat of mitzorah. We continue B'ezrat Hashem tomorrow.